Joe Rogan, the man that Earth has chosen as the one they want to listen to more than anyone else, recently had Jordan Peterson on. And these are two very curious, very smart guys having fun conversations that look something like this.
Sort out. The climate change one is a weird one. So that one,
that's because there's no such thing as climate, right? Climate and everything are the same word. And that's what bothers me about the climate change types. It's like, this is something that bothers me about it technically. It's like, well, climate is about everything. So, okay. But your models aren't based on everything. Your models are based on a set number of variables.
Yeah.
So that means you've reduced the variables, which are everything, to that set. Well, how did you decide which set of variables to include in the equation if it's about everything?
He's not a climate scientist. I'm just filling that in case you either didn't go into this knowing that or weren't able to pick it up from listening to him talk. This is, look, we're gonna dive into the specifics, Jordan, but that sort of technique that you just saw there is, I will define for you falsely what your thing is and then make insane comparisons to the thing I've said it is that you never agreed to. He has long not accepted climate science and encouraged young people to not accept climate science. He said at one point that focusing on climate change means that you're a low definition thinker. And I don't think that was like years ago. I don't think he's learned much about climate change since then, Jordan.
Yeah, it's far outside of his area of expertise, which allegedly is, I think, psychiatry. And the rhetorical device or approach that he took here was really just to kind of conflate it with messaging around climate change, right? So he says climate is everything. Well, it's just like that's what people say when they mean like there's so many intersects with disastrous climate consequences and a deterioration of our climate that would intersect with all these other aspects of life. And he's trying to conflate that with data models to, track, rising carbon emissions or global temperatures and things like that. It was absolute like babble. But ultimately, because he really can't argue with it. No, you can't. Nobody can, because all objective evidence points to increasingly hotter temperatures, melting ice blocks and ice shelves and ice caps, and that potentially rising sea levels, and all of these things would have disastrous consequences on top of methane emissions and carbon emissions and pollution and extreme weather. These are terrible things for the planet. So you can't really argue with the science, and that's why across the board, all like realistic, sane scientists in this field agree this is horrible and we need to do something about it. But he doesn't have that, so he has to resort to this.
Well, exactly, and he doesn't understand even what you just said. It is happening. It's bad. We are responsible. These are not. You cannot debate these. And they didn't choose to. Joe Rogan, who he does 40 hours of his show a day, and he's been doing it for years and years. He must have had climate scientists on at some point, but he's not prepared to rebut the nonsense that Jordan Peterson is saying. Climate is everything. Well, it's not the same thing, actually. Climate, according to the dictionary, is the weather conditions prevailing in an area in general or over a long period. Everything is all things, all the things of a group or class. Those are different. What he means, and he can't even seem to express, is that complex systems are complex. And as Jordan said, there are a lot of conceivable variables that could influence the outcomes. That is definitely true of virtually anything, actually, but climate is one of those things that there could be many influences on. And climate scientists have attempted over time to come up with as many hypotheses as possible about why we're seeing the outcomes we're seeing, which he never engages with. He is disagreeing there with anthropogenic climate change, the idea that we are responsible. You guys must just be missing something. It's not the carbon that we're emitting that's doing this, it's something else. He doesn't actually engage with the fact that it's indisputable that the climate is actually warming. And by the way, it's not like there's a climate scientist at Brown This is thousands and thousands of scientists operating over decades in every country in the world. They have tried to come up with as many potential explanations as possible. Scientists are humble people that love rejecting hypotheses and new theories. This is what we have. This is what they believe. Thousands of people, the dumbest of which know 10 times as much about this as Jordan Peterson, but he believes he can just jump into literally any topic he wants.
Don't Look Up, which I thought was a really fun, fantastic movie that was a great satire of how we discuss climate change on this planet. This is one thing that they never really considered. They had the depictions of how the media would handle it and try to make it into a fun pop culture thing, and people obviously wouldn't believe it. But what they really left out was the harebrained, insane podcaster battalion and YouTuber battalion who would just say things like this. So, if they had to revise the script just a little bit, maybe incorporate the people who are perceived by the online incel brigade as experts or free thinkers, just completely missing the mark on basic terminology and methodology.
100%. Yeah. And it's Brett tweeted something that I thought was really accurate here. It was in response to, I think Joe Rogan or something had said that the antidote to wokeness is comedy, and they have a problem with comedy. No, people's big issue and growing issue, thankfully, about Joe Rogan is not about jokes that he makes. They're not joking there. I mean, it's a joke in a very real sense. It's the debate that they're having, the fake conversation. He brings on grifting liars and accepts at face value what they say. That's not about comedy. That is willfully misinforming literally millions of people on a daily basis. That is the problem that people actually have. And thank God that they are starting to have it, because I've had an issue with him for literally years. And 3 years ago, people were not regularly talking about how much damage Joe Rogan was on a daily basis doing to the discourse. But now people seem to be understanding that. That does not limit his power as influence. He still is one of the most listened. His podcast, I don't think, is anymore the most popular podcast in the world, but it's still up there. And that is something that we all have to grapple with.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.